Let's start with who Lisa is, where you come from. Tell me a little bit about you and how you got into tourism.
Great. Okay. Well, I mean, it's a love story of 30 years. Originally trained as a teacher, and I met my late husband and was enticed into the bushveld in Manyeleti in Limpopo. And of course, the love story started in so many ways. I fell in love with tourism and with Limpopo, and I've never left. It's been a space where I have moved from owning my own lodge with fellow directors. Karisimwe Nature Lodge is one of the most beautiful spaces. It's an eco lodge. Well, it was an eco lodge. And just the amazing people that I've met through the process of being in tourism is just astonishing. We went on from an NGO, Open Africa, to start a business called Love Limpopo. This was inspired by the amazing people and places of Limpopo. There is just so much to tell. It's like a forgotten province. And yet, just as you mentioned, Grace Sabara, and you've interviewed Tinyiko, Betty Tlungwani. There are so many people out there that have incredible stories to share, expertise, innovation. They really are making a huge difference in the world of tourism. And apart from the incredible spaces, the diversity within Limpopo, it's the people that really makes the difference. And as we found, not having this contact with others during the lockdown and during this COVID crisis, it really gets back to connection. And that is, for us, what Love Limpopo is all about. We have really found ways to connect travelers, responsible travelers, to incredible spaces that they wouldn't normally have access to. Responsible tourism accommodation and authentic immersive cultural experiences, wildlife experiences, and of course the inspiring people that are part of the fabric of Limpopo.
You really are getting into the fabric through this Love Limpopo. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about how tourism impacts the lives and the livelihoods of the people that you're working with on a daily basis. Why is it important to them?
Yeah, well, I mean, tourism is absolutely essential, and I think that this is the sadness in this pandemic, that tourism has been brought to its knees, particularly in Limpopo. There are so many businesses that have been going for 20 years that are, literally closing down. You shouldn't be weeping all over your shoulder.
I weeped in a former interview, so please feel free to weep. This is about keeping it real.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think that tourism is all about connection, and it provides a cultural connection. It provides a stillness in that moment where you are out in the bush, and all that you can hear is your own heartbeat, and the whisper from the guide to bring you closer to that moment of connection with a lion or with a dung beetle or whatever it may be. And it's those moments which you capture through a tourist experience, which really speaks to your heart. It changes you forever as an individual, and that's really what we are looking to promote via Love Limpopo. It's those moments, those magic moments where you're not just a traveler, you're not a visitor, you are sitting, creating a beautiful traditional clay pot at the feet of Maflora Randela of the Mukondeni pottery village in near Elim. And you are, you're getting to grips with the culture, the vendor culture that she is so proud of. and learning a skill like, you know, traditional pot making, clay pot making, which you would never have had the opportunity to do before. So tourism is a portal. It takes you to a whole new space. It's something that transforms you.
So you've spoken about the connection of the guest with the tourism product and the people within the destination. What about flipping it on its head? Because you spoke about connection. So what do we as a tourism community, for example, get out of that interaction with that guest? What are the elements of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a really interesting question, because of course it's never one-sided. I think that you know, if as a tourism practitioner, as somebody that's in the tourism industry, we have the opportunity to learn and grow with every relationship that we develop. Every visitor, every traveler brings their own context and their own insights. And as a community, a global community, we learn and grow from each other. You know, I am because you are, and that is the kind of fabric that we should be weaving, and we can weave through tourism. It provides a way of connecting outside of your normal context, and transforming your own space, broadening your horizons. You know, I think specifically of I've mentioned Flora Randell of the Mukundeni pottery of the Rabola art route, and you know, there are so many examples of young people who have entered the tourism industry and have completely found their lives transformed, going to the tourism indaba and meeting international travelers and tour operators who have you know, made them see their worth as individuals. Coming from a small village, you know, often you don't see that as being part of the tourism landscape, and yet, you know, anybody can become part of the tourism landscape and find their value and find their worth in their interaction with others. So, you know, being a guest, being a visitor, you allow that opportunity for transformation.
We often talk about tourism in kind of soft, warm and fuzzy terms, and we're speaking about connection at the moment, and you don't see it, and I think people don't see it as a necessity or an essential, and that is why we haven't been given the opportunity to show that we can actually open safely, because we're not really essential. We're like this thing that you do on the weekends to live your best life, and that's kind of the end of it. Tell me about why tourism is actually important to the communities that you work with.
Yeah, well, you know, I think that tourism is absolutely crucial. It is, as you say, often touted as being something that is for people with disposable income. It's something that's nice to do. You know, you save up your leave days and you go off somewhere. But you know, I think I'm speaking a lot about transformation and connection, and I think that those are two essential elements of tourism, which allow it to have so much impact. But specifically for the communities in which we work, you know, again, looking at the Rabola art route or the Rashile culture to Kruger route, which is near Giani in the north of Limpopo. These are areas which are traditionally not tourism rich. There are a few lodges, but they're only used, or they're often used for reps, for people passing through. And yet the tourism has managed to transform these communities into a space where visitors would like to come as a destination, not just passing through. And I think that for the communities where tourism has had an impact most is to bring not only the tourism dollar or euro or whatever, which obviously has an impact on not only that individual, but on numerous members of their family, of their community. There's a knock-on effect that tourism has, which very few other industries manage to achieve. But it's also the feeling of self-worth and cultural pride and entrepreneurship, which is sparked as a result of an interaction with visitors. people begin to see that there is an opportunity for for traditional food making, for homestays, for sharing your culture in ways which you would never have imagined within your own community.
So if you had a hotline into the NCCC and you wanted to persuade them to give tourism a chance to reopen and prove that it can do so safely, what would you say to them?
Well, I mean, how long have you got? I think if you have several hours, I think we could get to the bottom of it. But I think that the crucial thing is, apart from the many people whose lives are being impacted upon negatively by the lockdown, there are many businesses which are geared to open up. If you're looking at casinos and movies and spaces where people are generally speaking packed together, it's ridiculous to imagine that tourism can't open up. It's particularly with self-catering, low-risk areas. Limpopo is known for its wide open spaces, for its incredible accommodation where you don't see another soul. There are already protocols in place to make sure that everybody has a safe experience within a context of tourism. And surely something like birding, where you're standing in the middle of a forest with a guide, and there's nobody else around, mountain biking, hiking, all of these activities are absolutely geared towards being COVID safe. And obviously there are different protocols that need to be in place for bigger hotels, but for many of the self-catering accommodation spaces in Limpopo, there is absolutely no reason why that shouldn't be opened up. And it's really is just a no-brainer.
So Lisa, you have been impacted badly by the lockdown, as many tourism businesses have, and it's been devastating for you and devastating for your staff. How do you give hope to those individuals who are in the same space that you are at the moment, or potentially going into that moment, because we know we're not out of it yet? What could you say to them to give them a reason to get up and keep going in the way that you have so magnificently?
Well, I think I'm just so inspired by the tourism businesses, the resilience of the tourism businesses in Limpopo and around me. It has been an incredibly difficult journey, and Love Limpopo started a WhatsApp group which has grown incrementally, just to try and provide information, to provide inspiration, to link everybody that feels that they're working in silos. The tourism business, the guides, the government, provincial government, everybody is working on their own little patch and fighting for survival. And I think that it's really is about collaboration. It's about reaching out to your community and to your tourism community, and just supporting each other. I think I always think about Jackson Hlongwane, who was the father of the Rebola art route. He's one of the most famous artists in the country. He's passed away, but his legacy lives on in all of the artists of the Rebola art route. And he, in the height of a time when he was supposedly insane, he was speaking the most sense. He was saying that at some stage the female energy is going to come through. We are going to realize that we need to be nurturing, that we need to be collaborative, that we need to really engage with nurturing ourselves, each other, the earth, the planet, and finding ways to collaborate instead of be competitive. And I think that those words ring in my ears all the time, because I found that particularly in this time where people are reaching out to each other and helping each other through, I mean, tours has been an absolute nightmare. Obviously getting, protocols in place, opening up, closing down, having to retrench, all of those areas that have been so traumatic for people. And yet there's been this thread of compassion and collaboration throughout the tourism space. And people like yourself who have made it possible for us to connect with each other across the distance. I think that it's people who have stepped into the space and said, "Here, I'm giving you my hand. Let's embark on this journey together." That makes all the difference.
I just love that, the term female energy. I've never heard that before, but it just makes so much sense to me. Even before COVID, the world was needing a shift, a seismic shift towards empathy and collaboration. Is one of these wishy-washy words I often find they say a speech, and nobody really knows what collaboration is. But this kind of holding hands, not from a disempowering perspective, but from an empowering perspective.
Exactly.
As I learn from people like you, and I talk to, at least you learn from me, I learn from you.
Yes.
Essentially, kind of a fantastic exchange of energy and insight and creativity. It's so empowering. Which is why I said to you before we started, I want this to be more than my side hustle. I want this to be my job.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I found I'm so passionate about, working within Love Limpopo, because that's exactly what it is. It is all about empowerment. So often we look at this phenomenon of you become successful and people try and drag you down. People hang onto your feet and draw you down. And something that I have found in this landscape, in this tourism landscape, is quite the opposite. It is an empowerment. People are lifting each other up and literally saying, don't give up yet. It's amazing.
We talk about inclusive growth of the economy through the youth and through women specifically, and tourism is one of those amazing industries that has the potential to employ both women and youth, low, semi-skilled, in peri-urban rural areas. What could you say today to inspire those women who are already in tourism to stay in tourism and give it the chance, but also to those women who perhaps are thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't go into tourism because it's a bit of a space at the moment that is uncertain? What could you say to them?
Right. Well, I think that tourism provides any woman and particularly young women with an opportunity for equality. There are a lot of industries that are still very patriarchal in nature, and I think that tourism is a space where you can start from anywhere and become anything. I look at Betty Tlangwani, whom you interviewed. The fact that she was a petrol pump attendant in Elim, and she was discovered by Michelle Gerardin's family, and she was given an opportunity at Shilavari, and now she is the hospitality manager at Nahakwe Lodge. And I think there is such hope for young women particularly to just stand up and say, I am tourism ready. I am tourism. And that's what I love about your campaign, is that it's bringing people from every possible area of the country, and any level. It's from CEOs to hospitality managers to guides. It's the whole gambit. And I think for anybody that is looking at tourism as a possible career, or is in tourism at the moment, the opportunities are endless. I think that once tourism is back on its feet again, the new normal is going to offer so many opportunities for people to really find their passion and their purpose, and step into a whole new space. I think that the new responsible traveler is going to be looking for people like you out there who feel that passion and that pride, and are willing to share it with the world.